barricaded. You notice the one thing that's missing in all public service today, all public service, including the media. They're supposed to be public servants. You know what's missing? One thing. You see it all the time. All the time. Accountability.
That was the word. Yeah.
Nobody ever gets punished. Nobody ever gets fired. Nothing. I mean, you literally can destroy a city in Maui. And every public official looks at everybody else and say it must have been it was the earth. It was global warming. It was really not us. I mean, we did everything right. I mean, what do you mean sound the alarm? Why would I sound the alarm? People would run to the fire. You have level after level after level of incompetence, no accountability. People get away with it. In essence, when you think about it, Sean, when you think about it, the incompetence gets rewarded. Incompetent people are never called into question. They're never challenged. They're never reprimanded or fired.
Yeah.
They're never charged with anything. I mean, you literally killed thousands of people, Mr. Mayor. I think there might be some criminal investigation here to want to know how is it that all of our public servants failed and literally killed hundreds of people, or over 100 people. But there's no accountability, zero accountability. In fact, it's just a blame game, and it's, it's business as usual. And the same is true of the media. August 4th, 2023. Did you see this on the news? There was a packed pier at the University of Wisconsin-Madison that collapsed. All these people, I shouldn't laugh. Okay. I mean, a lot of people were standing on the pier as it collapsed.
Okay. So I haven't, but I'm curious.
Have you seen the story?
No.
Okay, so if I just painted this picture for you, what would you imagine it would look like?
That's exactly it. So
let me paint the picture. That's the headline.
A pier. So pier is like a peak or an area. Water is likely around. There's some kind of scenic view.
No, you're on it, Sean. It's a pier, baby. Pier is over the water, and people are standing on a dock, maybe. Yep. Anyhow, they're on the pier. You want to see what happened?
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and show you.
Following breaking news in Madison, Wisconsin, where more than 24 people are recovering after a pier collapsed. It happened as people gathered to celebrate Labor Day. This happened at the Memorial Union Terrace on the UW-Madison campus. The moment the pier collapsed was captured on video, but before we show you that, we want to let you know that no one was seriously hurt. Now, you can see that pier give way under a crowd of people, sending them into the water. Police say between 60 and 80 people were on the pier at the time. Witnesses described the chaotic aftermath.
So many people, and nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what was happening at first either. Like, nobody expected something like that to occur.
Investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the pier to collapse.
So what went wrong? What would be your initial analysis watching the pier? Was it unsafe? Was it overcrowded? What went wrong?
My initial, from what I saw with my eyes, overcrowded.
So you're going to believe overcrowding. All right, that's a good analysis. I mean, from what you know, remember that was a news story. University of Wisconsin-Madison. Okay. Well, there's actually more to the story.
Okay.
There's always the other side of the story, which kind of let out this is interesting because there's a second story that revealed one little tiny detail. I want you to see if you can catch it, okay?
All right. Buddy, it is 6:40 and new for you this morning. Dozens of students from the University of Wisconsin-Madison are recovering this morning after a pier collapse on a lake on campus. Take a look at this.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can see right when it started to kind of fold on itself, it threw all of them into the water. 20 people in total were hurt. One person had to go to the hospital, and those numbers are lucky, really, when you see that.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing about this pier, though. It was scheduled to be removed today for the end of the summer. So in a statement, UW-Madison says the area was not staffed by lifeguards at the time of the collapse, and they are planning to investigate exactly what happened.
A little detail that they missed in the first story, but they caught in the second story. What was the little detail? That was, I would say, a big detail.
That the pier was going to be removed.
They told you the problem.
Right.
And what was it?
A pier was going to be removed.
Why?
I don't know.
So let's kind of ask this question, So why?
Right.
See, this is where the media just drops the ball. The pier was slated to be removed today. Well, why was the pier slated to be removed today? And if you notice, the newscaster's kind of like, and the And on to the weather.
Yeah.
It's like, how come you wouldn't naturally be inquisitive to say, why was it scheduled to be removed? I mean, why would you not ask the city that question?
Right.
Why wouldn't you ask the obvious question, Mr. Newscaster?
Right.
So why was the city going to remove the pier? What do you think? Why do you think the city would be removing the pier?
I think a couple of reasons. First off, it may be past its lifespan, right? Just the materials, they corrode, they have a lifespan. It could be past its time. There could have already been existing known safety issues.
Obviously, the city was going to remove it because there was something wrong with the pier. I mean, why would you remove a perfectly fine pier?
That's a great question.
That people college students coming back to school are going to be using. You know that. You know that this is a popular pier. College students are going to use it. Maybe, overload it, whatever. Why wouldn't you remove it before they came back to school?
Well, that's
why would you remove it? I guess it's removed itself, right?
Yeah.
It was a self-removing pier. It just collapsed into the water. You know what was stunned me? Usually it's a bunch of people partying on the top of the pier and usually people beneath the pier, like kind of swimming, hanging out in the water. So imagine that thing collapses. That pier collapses. And you just happen to be the guy swimming underneath it at the time of the collapse. Mm-hmm. And that collapses on you. Okay. Thank God that didn't happen. Yeah. There was nobody underneath it. Nobody got hurt. But this is a classic example of government incompetence. We knew there was something wrong with the pier, and we were scheduled to remove it literally the day after this happened.
Right.
And so, by the grace of God, thank God nobody got hurt, but they could have, right? They could have. So the city obviously knew there was something wrong with the pier, did nothing about it, and they jeopardized public health by allowing all these college students access to a pier that they knew was damaged. Did I sum that up right?
I think that's pretty apt. And you hit it on the head. They knew about it. I don't know what was communicated. There's no way no one got hurt off of that. That's literally you got 100 plus people falling on top of each other simultaneously on two sides. Again, recurring things that we're seeing, like just important stuff with real impact and safety concern, balls are being dropped. How is something as significant as a pier where you've got tons of people partying on top of the day it's supposed to be removed? That's just why. And baffling.
They're coming back to campus.
And even the most risk averse side of you is like, oh man, if just one person fell, we knew about this. It could be uncovered. There'll be liability. There'll be lawsuit. There'll be all this stuff. I would not be surprised. How could someone not sue in that situation? Right. If they don't, honestly, I'm like.
But again, I wanted to highlight this story for two reasons. One, it was a crisis that, thank God, nobody got killed. But it was an easily preventable crisis. Easily preventable.
Absolutely.
The city must have had an inspector, complaints, whatever. They did an inspection. Structural engineers may have been out there and said, this pier is just not stable and needs to be removed. Understood. Got it. So what would a normal, prudent, or reasonable city do? Barricade the pier. Don't let people on it.
A huge sign.
Big
Do not
sign.
use.
Barricade.
Penalty.
Permanent. Do not enter.
Right.
Danger.
Yes.
No, none of that. Let everybody go out there, overcrowd the hell out of it. Okay, I'm sure they brought I didn't notice if there's any kegs floating in the water. Of course, you want to save the beer. But let people out there, then when the whole thing falls down, say, it was scheduled to be removed. But the second point is, you have broadcast media, many of them never even covered the city was going to remove this.
Yeah.
Right? They never even made the news. And you listen to the talking heads and they never asked a logical question. You heard the women, how about ask the question? Hey, city, how did you permit people to get on this pier? Why didn't you barricade it? Why didn't you stop entry?
Yeah.
Where's the question? Instead it's, hey, John, out to the news and sports today.
Yeah.
Incompetence. Again, it's and people's lives, public safety is jeopardized yet again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get curious about too is, okay, now that we know that it was scheduled, I just think it's really eerie the day it's scheduled to be removed, it collapses. Yeah. That's what a crazy. Absolutely. And second, it's I don't know this information, but question I have is how long were they actually out there? Because even if you did allow people to get on there initially, usually when people are hanging out by the water, people are back from school. I don't know if it was a weekend, but regardless of the situation, were they there for like 15 minutes or a couple of hours?
Sure.
Because depending on the time, how does someone not at least say something after the fact?
I wonder how many of those kids were law students.
Yeah.
And again, people say, "Oh, frivolous lawsuit." Well, this is the reality. People get hurt. Young people out, went away to school, hanging out on a pier, hanging out with their friends, whatever it might be. It could have been for fraternities, sororities. I don't know. Just young people doing what young people do going back to college. The City Newz, a defect, did nothing about it. The whole pier collapsed. Thank God nobody got hurt. But what if 5-6 people did get killed? What would the city say? Well, they didn't have it. It wasn't like these kids broke through a barricade to get on the pier. There was nothing. It was, come on in.
Yeah.
Come on in. Pier's fine until tomorrow.
And I acknowledge, too, initially when you asked the question, what was the problem? I did believe it looked overcrowded. There's just a lot of – but even, too, like I go back and I realize now I'm changing my stance on it, which is they're allowed to stand on there. What's unfortunate is like as I think about the purpose of the show and the purpose of like as we go out there in life, every day there's going to be legitimate safety concerns. I see it as similar when we were talking about Maui. If the public and leadership don't do their job at some of the most fundamental levels.
Are you saying people didn't do their job in Maui?
Absolutely. In this case, to me, it's very apparent someone dropped the ball.
I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of people in this case dropped the ball.
That's scary, Russ. Like now I'm like, because these may seem like minor and consequential. Oh, I'm not in Wisconsin. No, they're just college kids. They'll be fine.
Let's put it in context because you raise a good point. People tend to think that, well, if the pier is open, it must be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's out there. Must be okay. No warnings. The presumption is we're good to go. Let's go have fun.
Yeah.
Right. And how are you going to tag this on? How are you going to tag this on those college? I'm sure that's what they're going to say. Well, the pier was overcrowded. Well, how are you going to tag that on the college kids?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to do that?
Knowing everything, at least from what's being presented. I mean, there's always more information, but from what we have now, yeah, it seems like City dropped the ball.
City dropped the ball, but the big picture is this happens every day, everywhere. Is you assume the water you drink is safe? Maybe, maybe not. We know that the straws you use are deadly. I mean, look, we saw the turtle last time with the straw in their nose. I mean, come on. Everybody's going to have some problem with straws. We get scared out of our wits about things that are irrelevant, and the things that are legitimate risks are come on board and have a party here. So, again, look, the world's filled with risk. No question about it. Risk is around us everywhere, but the average person totally underestimates risk. This is an example of young people having a good time on a pier. Didn't turn out very well. Thank God nobody got seriously hurt. Maybe some did. I don't know. But again, when you have the mainstream media that turns their back on matters of safety, that have no intellectual curiosity, that are just talking heads reading teleprompters, and they're spouting out BS. They're giving out misinformation. They're basically communicating to people a non-message. Okay? They're just entertaining you with nonsense. Mm-hmm. And you become kind of hypnotized. I mean, people just think, well, yeah, well, like the woman announcer. Oh, it's all emotional. Oh. She watched that video. Hey, she watched the video like 12 times before it aired. It wasn't the first time she saw it. Sean, the first time you saw it was then. She saw it, but it's this feigned, we care. You care so much that you should, you should be holding the city government's feet to the fire. You should be in front of them right now with the live cam, the guy with the hat on. Hi, I'm out in front of City Hall. We're we tried to reach the city council. Yeah, there you go, Sean. We got to get this thing going. Hi, Sean Joseph with Safety News. And we're trying to reach the city manager's office to understand why exactly was this bridge open. Yeah. Or, I'm sorry, this pier open. Why were people allowed on it, given that it was scheduled to be removed?
Absolutely.
You don't see that story. Yeah. It's just on to the next, And to me, that's just dishonest. It's wrong. It doesn't put real risk into context. Mm-hmm. Non-issues are considered a big deal, and legitimate issues like this are So what?
So what does it take to have those stories pushed forward?
What it takes is, and it's not going to happen. It's going to take an honest media. It's going to take people who are employed as quote unquote journalists to go out there and investigate legitimate stories. That's the real reason for the First Amendment. Freedom of speech is all about protecting people's rights, and then freedom of the press, of course, is about the press being able to ask tough questions of our government officials. That's what it's about. Press the government officials. This is a city. Why was the bridge open? Why did you let people on it? Why wasn't it not barricaded? Why were you scheduling to remove it? What did you know that you didn't safeguard?
Yeah.
But instead, you just get the, oh gosh, that's so scary. Oh, hey, I like the first story. Before they even aired the video, what is the first thing the guy said? We just want to let you know, nobody was hurt. It's kind of like when you watch a movie, and we just want you to know that none of the animals used were harmed.
Yeah.
They're prefacing the story with this, don't worry, everything turned out just fine.
I'm like, how could you even know the answer to that question? Because first off, that video looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
So you're telling me no one had at least a sprained ankle?
Yeah.
So that to me, thank you for bringing that up. They said that at the beginning. They didn't say it at the end. I totally forgot about that. But now that you say that, that just
tells you, again, what we do here is we peel the onion of the news.
Right.
Pay attention. How did it start? It started with a caution. What you're about to see is bad, but nobody got hurt. Okay, so who's going to benefit from that?
It eases us. Okay, well,
don't worry, it's fine. Okay.
Whatever.
You're probably right. So people didn't die. Does that mean they didn't get hurt? I'm sure people got hurt.
Right.
When you have an aluminum bridge land on you and your girlfriend with a keg of beer landing on the back of your head, you probably got hurt.
There's no way no one got hurt off that.
Of course somebody got hurt. Yeah. But that's how they start the story. The second story, of course, gave a little bit more information, but how did this happen?
Yeah.
You know what? That's not your job. If that woman newscaster was truly that shocked, she doesn't belong on the news because she should be pissed. Her emotion should be, hey, well, why don't we know what happened? Instead it's, hey, on to sports.
I mean, because that is their job,
You're not doing
right?
the public
Their
justice.
Job at the core, whether or not they actually do that, is to uncover the truth for the public.
That's the purpose of the press. Freedom of the press means you have the constitutional right to go out and press government officials for the truth without fear of you're going to be put in jail like they do in Russia or North Korea or China.
Absolutely.
That's freedom of the press.
That's the fundamental difference between our country and others.
And you know what, Sean? I would say that most people in our country do not know what freedom of the press means. They don't even understand what freedom of speech means. I would be willing to bet you if you were to ask an average public school, big city public school, college or high school senior, can you tell me what the U.S. Constitution is? When was it ratified? What are the Bill of Rights? What are amendments to the Constitution? Just basic stuff about our country. Basic. What is the First Amendment? What is the Second Amendment? Give me name 3 amendments to the Constitution. They don't know. And if you ask them, well, what is the First Amendment guarantee you? Whatever you could talk about whatever you want, unless you're Donald Trump or a MAGA. If you're MAGA, you can't. I mean, no, it has nothing to do with Donald Trump or MAGA. It has to do with your rights that you can speak whatever you want, okay, to whomever you want, without the fear that you're going to be put in jail or prosecuted. But you know what, Sean? Today, that's the opposite. Today is people are afraid to speak because of fear that there will be retribution. I'll lose my job. I'll get canceled. Look, family members don't talk to family members because of politics. It's a mess, but it's all fanned by stories like this. Look, if you look at just the face of the story, it was kind of a non-story. Pier collapse, everybody's fine. Nothing to see here, move on. Okay, thank God. But what if, say 6 people would have been killed, 2 of them hospitalized with head injuries, say they were severely injured. The story would take a different turn. It'd be a different end result because people were hurt. But because people weren't hurt, oftentimes, the story takes a right turn. Well, nothing bad here, so we'll just move on.
Yeah.
Could have been. This was what's known as a near miss, an event that happened that could have wound up with serious bodily injury, but didn't. But those are the ones you watch the most because if it happened once, it's going to happen again. or could happen again. In this case, you don't have to worry about breaking down the bridge because it broke itself down.
Right.
But it's troubling.
It is very much so.
How we really allow government off the hook. And when we put them on the hook, it's for stupid stuff, like non-issues.
I think on top of that, too, what I get concerned about, which you hit, was if you're somebody consuming the news, it's becoming more and more, honestly, throughout the shooting of this show, Russ, I watched the news, right? I'm more privy to the news and how they report now than I think I ever was. It's alarming how good they are at anchoring your thoughts and having you in an emotional or mental place before the story even starts or at different parts in the story. So I say all that because it's really easy to get conditioned to be passive in listening and not question and interrogate the information that they're putting in.
Do you get the feeling we're fed?
Yes.
It's feed news stories. A thread begins, and they weave it through and drip, drip, drip. They want to fill people with stories that are biased and sell it as not being biased. That didn't deserve airtime in the context. It should have been caution. What you're about to see is very disturbing.
Exactly. It should have been the opposite.
That's what they should say.
Because I don't know about. It was disturbing to watch.
29 college students, are injured. They might not die as a result of a collapse on the XYZ bridge that everybody knows. That's the headline.
If you were watching as a bystander in real time, you would have been shocked, right? Like if you were there watching the pier, people there, and you just saw it collapse, any person would have been shocked. They'd be like, oh my God.
It is shocking, and it should be shocking, and it should get people's attention, and every parent of those students should say, what's going on in the city? Absolutely. Why is it that the city is not looking out for the safety of my kid? And look, wasn't it the same city where the girl was at the football game? University of Wisconsin, Madison. She was raped at the opening days.
Oh,
remember that? I think it was like the same day. And the city catches a lot of crap because they don't have any cops. All the cops left because they defunded the police. And so now they're saying, well, we need more police. Well, guess what? Nobody wants to be a cop in Madison because you defunded them, you humiliated and demoralized them. But not to digress. This is a story of public safety, and nobody's holding the city accountable. Oh, well, we don't have to worry about demolishing it. Just go pick the pieces up. But again, it's a averted tragedy that people. How many other bridges? Let's dissect the case. Here's me if I was the Channel X newscaster. How many other bridges in Madison County may have structural defects that need to be examined? We're trying to get in touch with the structural engineer of the city of Madison regarding the bridge safety within our city. We're going to follow this thread because we're here to protect you.
Yeah.
None of that. It's kumbaya. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. But you said it. The video was pretty compelling, wasn't it? It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Anyhow, didn't mean to get you all worked up. I definitely got me worked up.
Hey, you know what? I'm glad we talk about this stuff because, hey, if it's worth getting worked up, we should. That's, I think, what it starts with how we actually make change. I appreciate you, again, doing all the work that you do to find these stories because it's really easy to just accept what the news gives you.
Yeah. And the good news is most people don't listen to the news. That's the good news. Nobody reads newspapers. Okay, so the news is drip, 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 little headlines. Social media is really big for the news. You know who's really big on the news? Right here, buddy. We're big on the news. Okay, so we're growing because the rest of the world understands that what the media puts out is baloney. They get it. And we have a viewpoint that is, in my view, worthy of discussion. It's obviously somewhat entertaining, but it's highly informational.
Absolutely.
Raise questions about safety.
Yes.
Raise questions about public safety, individual safety. When someone says stop using, like we covered last time, stop using straws because they have these forever chemicals in them. Well, what the hell is a forever chemical? What is that?
Do you think it starts with
questions? I don't know. Are you going to bring your I know you probably, Sean, have your stainless steel straw in you right now.
That date did not go well, though.
But yeah, it's. Can we get down to earth here? So we want to focus. This show focuses on real stories that are worthy of discussion. Let's kind of debunk myths. Let's call out politicians on both parties because they're equally as bad. Some worse than others.
Yeah.
Because it's all about protecting people, looking out for other people, standing up for other people. taking a stand, being willing to take a stand, being willing to catch, the bullets and the arrows in your back. And as you and I have talked about many times, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to educate and inform people. Some people might like what I say, what we say, what we believe in. Other people may not. That's fine. But at the end of the day, we're here about protecting folks. Okay, it's about preventing stupid events like this bridge collapse that could have been far worse than it was from ever happening in the first place. But the only way you take corrective action is when you confront the people who were responsible.
There we go. I love that, and I just rarely see that, if ever. Like, just really getting down to, this is what happened. This is why it's a problem. This is what the root of the problem was. And among the root of the problem, who are the individuals responsible for managing the situation? Did they do what they were supposed to? And if not, what is the plan? Are they going to be reprimanded? Is there accountability? Are they sorry? Are they going to get retrained? Are they going to get pushed out of, like, what happened? Who is, and what happens?
Where's the city? Where's the city spokesman? He should have been the first one, the mouthpiece, the public relations person for the city to say, yes, that was scheduled to be removed. Here's what happened, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, we should have barricaded it. You notice the one thing that's missing in all public service today? All public service, including the media. They're supposed to be public servants. You know what's missing? One thing. You see it all the time. All the time. Accountability.
That was the word. Yeah.
Nobody ever gets punished. Nobody ever gets fired. Nothing. I mean, you literally can destroy a city in Maui. And every public official looks at everybody else and say it must have been it was the earth, it was global warming. It was really, not us. I mean, we did everything right. I mean, what do you mean sound the alarm? Why would I sound the alarm? People would run to the fire. You have level after level after level of incompetence, no accountability. People get away with it. In essence, when you think about it, Sean, the incompetence gets rewarded. Incompetent people are never called into question. They're never challenged. They're never reprimanded or fired.
Yeah.
They're never charged with anything. I mean, you literally killed thousands of people, Mr. Mayor. I think there might be some criminal investigation here to want to know how is it that all of our public servants failed and literally killed hundreds of people, or over 100 people. But there's no accountability, zero accountability. In fact, it's just a blame game, and it's business as usual. And the same is true of the media. The media puts out lie after lie after lie, misinformation, just crafted, nonsense. Mm-hmm. Okay? Who said it the best? Who said
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
He's right. It is fake news. It is phony stuff. But
a lot of it is.
Yeah,
we've seen clear examples.
It's where we are. It's where we are as a country, Sean. I'm all worked up.
Well, I guess the one thing is, I'm trying to think about, and I know we talk about these things, and it's hard to not feel a heaviness because, I mean, these things are happening. And I guess what I feel is so many of them can easily be avoided with just some competence, common sense, communication, true leadership, accountability. But that's where I think, the real duty we all have as people is to ensure that we continue to fight, maintain, and exercise our right of free speech, like we're doing here on the show, like we're doing in conversations, right? Talk about it and channel that. That's
an excellent point.
Opportunity upward.
When somebody said recently to me, most people that watch the news are not listening or watching for information. They're watching or listening for affirmation. Conservatives listen to conservative media. Liberals listen to liberal media. Okay, well, you're just listening. You're singing to your own choir. Okay, fine. A right-wing conservative person has an audience of conservatives. You get them riled up. I got it. You make a buck off of them because you get them riled up. But what solutions come from that? Why don't you tell me what the solutions are by preaching to people that already agree with you? Why don't you motivate them to do something, to take action? Okay, have some type of response that will actually change the condition, to improve our society, to make our society better, to leave something behind for younger people, to protect those who are most vulnerable, the elderly, or in this case, college students.
Yeah.
Okay, where are the people that are calling for action to stand up and take control, to make things better, to make things safer, to protect people from injury, protect people from, events that are otherwise preventable. Instead, we hear about, paper straws and nonsense that really doesn't lead to anything but what?
You all attack people with fear.
Yeah. I love that soundbite.
It's good. Yeah.
Anyhow, Sean, thanks for putting up with me today. It's been another great episode. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thanks for helping me learn. Thanks for everyone watching. And all feedback welcome. Make sure you question things. That's something I'm leaving with today. It's something I try to always do. But hey, I mean, there are times where it's just convenient to, I'm not going to push back on that, or I'm not going to interrogate that piece. They're probably right. I mean, they're smart people. Question things always. I think you'll be glad you did.
That's it. And that's an educated, informed citizen. We are citizens. We're not servants. This is our government. It's we the people. We're very blessed to have that. If we were under British rule, we would be called subjects. Subjects don't have rights like citizens. We do, and don't undersell yourself. Hold those accountable for the good and bad things that happen. And I'm not suggesting everybody has to be fired or hung from their their feet in the square, but the people who do wrong need to be called out. And if you do something to harm others because of your incompetence or stupidity, which is I guess what government's all about to me, just right. All incompetence, stupidity, and we need to make our government better. If we don't, Sean, the government's not going to get better. Mm-hmm. The only way it gets better is by being challenged, by being called out. It's kind of like cancer that goes untreated. It doesn't get better on its own. It just slowly gets worse, and that's where we are. That's where we are as a country. Our country is sick. Our country has a form of lingering cancer that, unless we address it quickly, it's going to spread throughout the entire system, the world in our case, and it's going to make the world less safe. It's going to make people poorer, sicker. We're going to see no real positive end result. The rich will get richer, the poor will get poorer, and the whole world gets sicker. And the only way this thing is going to turn around is we, the people, stand up and say, enough is enough.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I got this just brewing while you were talking through that. There's some folks who have to get things right and they have to fix things. And I hope that they do. And when they do, I think their badge of honor should be a hat.
Yeah, look at you, baby.
Seriously, I'm not even kidding. That could be the beacon of like, hey, if we're really tackling issues, let's have some kind of...
Well, that's it. This is about just calling people, bringing awareness to an audience.
Yes.
That is wanting to know the whole story.
Yes.
Okay? Tell me what happened. Safety is boring. We got it. Safety people tend to be boring. Understood. I work with them. I can assure you that's true. They're like engineers. They're introverts. That's not to diminish the value of safety people or engineers, but they have a hard time communicating their message. We don't. And so on behalf of all safety people and safety engineers around the globe, we're on board with you. Our message is your message. But the only way we get our message out and really take concrete action is if people listen, people follow through. And that's what this show's about. That's where we're headed. I mean, this is going to be, Sean, a network. This will soon be the Safety News Network. You watch how this grows. This is a movement that's gaining a lot of momentum.
Absolutely.
We're small, but we're getting big. And when we get bigger and bigger and bigger, it's going to continue to grow. And there's going to be others that are going to be invited to this program, and they're going to have their views on various levels of safety. And we're going to continue to speak to an audience of people that simply want to know, that have a level of interest of education, that are tired with what the mainstream media puts out, tired of the nonsense, tired of the commercial interests where big companies fund everything, okay? And frankly, speaking for myself, I'm just tired of old people running our country. I'm just tired of 85-year-olds or whatever the hell we got. I mean, 80-year-olds, people who are, should be retired, spending time with their great-great-grandchildren. Instead, we have a geriatric-led government, and enough is enough. People are tired of it. I'm tired of it, and I'm just calling for accountability.